conflict in the Middle East has sent shockwaves through the global economy, driving up oil prices. Take a look at this. Brent crude, the global benchmark for oil prices, increased as much as 13% today to reach $82 a barrel. And West Texas Intermediate, the main U.S. oil benchmark, rose as high as $75 a barrel. We're going to ask Federal Energy Minister Tim Hodgson about that. The minister today was at one of the world's largest mining conferences, where he just announced 30 new critical mineral partnerships, the second round of partnerships and investments under the Critical Minerals Production Alliance. Minister Hodgson is with us live right now. Hi, Minister. It's good to see you as always. Thank you for making the time.
Good to see you, Vashi.
I want to start off, if I could, with the conflict in the Middle East and your view of what it might do to oil prices. Do you expect them to continue to climb, Minister?
So I can't predict what is going to happen in the Middle East, but what I know is what's happening in the Middle East is making our allies more and more focused on Canada. What our allies have told us over and over again is they want a reliable, a secure, and a sustainable source of energy going forward. They need diversity of supply. I think all of our allies woke up this weekend and realized a country like Canada, who is that reliable supplier, is that secure supplier, is that supplier who does it in a sustainable way, is that supplier who will never use energy for coercion, is a pretty valuable potential supplier.
That echoes something that I heard from the Premier of Alberta earlier today, which essentially was, in her view, that what is going on in the conflict there and the instability it creates for oil and gas, actually, for LNG, underpins the need for additional export capacity to the West Coast. The MOU that your government and her government signed on reaching agreement on a host of different things involving that as one component part has set a deadline, for example, to agree to an increased carbon price by April the 1st. Will that deadline be met, Minister?
Both parties are working hard to get to that deadline. We're going to work. We're both working in good faith to get there. As I said when I was in Calgary last week, the intention of the federal government, and I believe the intention of the Alberta government, is to get there by April 1st. As we all know, in working on deals, if we are not there on April 1st, it's all about the intentions of the parties. Are we going to look at each other and say we're making progress, we're in a good spot, let's get this done? I am very hopeful that we will get there on April 1st, and if we don't, I believe we've got a great partner in the government of Alberta, and we will get this done as quickly as possible.
If you can't get there, what does it say to investors who are and remain concerned about political instability standing in the way of their ability to advance major projects?
So I'm not talking about major delays. Again, we have every intention of getting there by April 1st. The Alberta government has every intention of getting there by April 1st. If we miss it by a few days, it is not the end of the world. What it's all about is the shared commitment of the federal government and the Alberta government to build together in Canada, and that's what the MOU is all about.
Part of what the MOU obligates the government of Alberta to do is agree to an increased industrial price on carbon. The United States has considerably backed away from any kind of strident climate policy, which a few weeks ago you were asked about. I believe you characterized their actions on that front as an aberration. This week, however, I'm reading headlines that talk about Italy wanting to do the same thing, Germany suggesting recently that the price should decrease. Should you reconsider, Minister, or should the government reconsider any future hikes?
I believe the world in general is still trying to move towards net zero. I think the world understands we need to reduce the carbon footprint of our industries around the world. There is debate about how quickly we do that and how we get there. We are committed to get there by 2050. I think most of our allies are all committed to get there by 2050. That is the norm in the world today. I don't believe that norm is going to change. I believe as we continue to see the realities of climate change, we are going to double down our efforts to get there by 2050, which is the commitment we've made.
Why don't you believe that parts of the world and some of our allies are going in a different direction. There is ample evidence. I just pointed to 2 countries in Europe, and I pointed to the United States. I understand the threat that climate change poses, but if we are going to make ourselves an energy superpower, or all the critical minerals projects, for example, mining that you pointed to today in your announcements, if they are all going to get built, what industry has talked about quite frequently is removing irritants that they classify as irritants on a more permanent basis. Why won't you entertain that?
So I haven't seen the comments you're saying about Germany. I do not believe Germany is giving up on getting to net zero. I don't believe Germany is giving up on a price on carbon. They may be talking about the shape of that curve on how they get there. I haven't seen what you're talking about, but my understanding is those countries are all committed to getting to net zero and are committed to a price on carbon over time. Look, I think the Canadians, including the Alberta government, understand that to future-proof the industry, we need to be able to produce the cleanest energy that we can. That is why our LNG is in such demand. That is why building the Pathways project and reducing the carbon intensity of our entire industry future-proofs our industry for now and in the future, and means we will be a clean and conventional superpower for years to come.
Who has said that is why, for example, our LNG is in demand? I interviewed Japan's ambassador to Canada this weekend. He went out of his way, without me even asking, to talk about how much he wants Canadian LNG. I interviewed world leaders under the previous prime minister who said the same thing. None of them said it's because of a lower carbon intensity or because your government calls it cleaner than other LNG.
So what I hear over and over again is if they have a choice between buying LNG from one country or another country, and one country produces a cleaner product, they would rather have the cleaner product. They're all focused, whether it's Japan, whether it's Korea, whether it's China, whether it's India, on the cleanliness of their air, on the health of their people. And if they have a choice between buying one that is lower carbon intensity than another, they will buy it. And that's what I've heard over and over again.
I guess I'm trying to understand, and as I listened to your announcement today about all these mining investments, I kept thinking of the last decade in which so many representatives from the mining industry had talked about how much longer it takes to get things built here, had identified irritants. I think of the energy industry who had identified the same thing. Like, basically, we can't create the kind of investment that you and the Prime Minister now talk about because there are just too many impediments to getting that done quickly. The only thing that removes those impediments, really, is C5, and you haven't even used it yet.
I would respectfully have a different interpretation. I saw 26 deals from multiple allies last October, investing over $6 billion in Canada. I saw today 30 new deals with 12 allies investing an additional $12 billion in Canada. I would say 56 deals and $18 billion of new investment in critical minerals tells you a lot about how the world's thinking about Canada today. I'd also point out that Canada had the highest level of foreign investment in over 2 decades this past year. So what I see is the world saying Canada has what we want. Canada is open for business. Canada is building again, and we'd like exposure to Canada.
I think more than half, if I recall that statistic, it's the highest since 2007, more than half of that came from the United States. And I take your point about the deals that are being announced. My question is more about execution, because that is what those sectors highlighted as the main impediments to their investments in the past. Your government has long sold C5 as a way around those impediments. You predicated its quick passage through Parliament at just 3 weeks on the fact that we're in a crisis or an emergency, yet it hasn't been used yet. Why not?
So what we've said is that the Major Projects Office will focus on organizing permitting and getting to condition condition documents within 2 years, and organizing financing, both private and public sector financing, to make the projects as efficient as possible. And that is what the MPO is doing. And when we find there is an impediment that can't be dealt with in the normal course, we will use C5. I would not be surprised if you didn't see a designation by the Major Projects Office at some point in the next few months.
Okay, I'll stay tuned for that. Thanks for your time as always, Minister. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care.